Hello and welcome back to the NFL Quick Talk podcast. As always, you can find us on YouTube and Spotify. Subscribe and follow. And we have been doing the last couple of episodes have been about predictions and breakdowns on the schedule and the roster. We have done the NFC North, the NFC East, and the NFC South. If you're new to the channel, I would definitely go check those out. And we'll be finishing with the NFC West. And we will be moving on to the AFC after that. And the AFC is a jumbled mess. That would be awesome. As always, with these types of predictions, as always with the channel, I'm trying to keep it under 15 minutes or less, as the channel says. So I don't have time to go through every minute detail of, for example, the Rams linebackers. That's just an example. But I don't have time to go through every game on the schedule, every roster, why I did this, why I did that. Hit me up in the comments if you have a question. Other than that, you're just going to try and see the logic in it. All right, we're going to move on to the predictions. And on that note, let's start off with the Arizona Cardinals. I have their overall roster at a C. The receivers are really one of the only bright spots on the roster, but other than that, the roster is weak and it does not have good enough depth to really to set them set the room. For example, the defensive line doesn't have elite depth at all. It has terrible depth, and it doesn't have that much talent. So, you see D there. Speaking on it, the offensive line and the defensive line are extremely weak. Budda Baker aside, the secondary is abysmal. Thank God they have Budda Baker on the team. Zaven Collins and BJ Ojulari, I think I pronounced that right, are viable options at linebacker. But really, other than those two, it's pretty weak. And on top of all of that, they won't even have their quarterback, Kyler Murray, back until about week 6 or 5 or 6, maybe even 7. And Colt McCoy will be the starter. And things just don't look good for the Cardinals. They should be tanking way down for that first pick in the overall in the draft. With the roster in mind, let's go to the schedule. In week 1, you play at Washington. I think you'll lose this game. Then you open up your first home game versus the Giants, and you stay at home in week 3 versus Dallas. I think you lose both these games. At San Francisco, you'll lose this game versus Cincinnati. You'll lose this game as well at the Rams, a winnable game, but I think you lose this game at Seattle. I think you'll lose as well. Versus Baltimore, I think you'll lose. At Cleveland, you'll lose here. You'll play home to Atlanta. I think you get your first win here. There's too many losses on the schedule. You're going to get one win by week 10 at least. And I think that comes against Atlanta. You go to Houston. I think you lose this game, but it's winnable. And then you play the second game versus the Rams at home. I think you win here. And then you lose at Pittsburgh going into the bye week 2 and 11. You play versus San Francisco. That's a loss. And in week 16, you play at the Bears. I think you'll win this game. Definitely losable. But then you finish at Philly and versus the Seahawks with 2 more losses, going 3-14, and probably one of the top 3 picks in the NFL draft. All right, leave the Arizona Cardinals aside. We'll move now to the Los Angeles Rams, and I've had a couple buddies that have told me, hey, say that the Rams are going to do well, whatever. I'm going to tell you why everyone in the industry and most of your friends and my friends say that the Rams are not going to be very good this year. What I will say, when I was just comparing the Rams and the Cardinals roster, the Rams have higher upside than the Cardinals do with players like Stafford, Donald, Kupp, but they have lower lows. Like their linebackers, for example, are a lot worse than the Cardinals. And the Cardinals linebackers they're okay, but they're not the best as well. Yeah, exactly. So the Rams have lower lows. The receivers are above average with top 5 wide receiver in Cooper Kupp, and players like Van Jefferson and Tyler Higbee at tight end will help out Matt Stafford in the passing game. But the offensive line is abysmal. You cannot just plug in. If you put in Trent Williams there, it would not affect. Actually, I take that back. It would affect it, but it wouldn't affect it as much to where it gets up to a level where it could run the ball effectively. And I don't think they're going to be able to run the ball effectively because they have a bottom tier running back in Cam Akers who has zero ability to a zero explosive ability. There it is. That's the word. Explosive. He doesn't have very much explosiveness to him, and he's not really a big bruiser type either. So I don't see them having that much of a run game at all, which negatively impacts the passing game as well, because if you're just passing it 60 times a game, Matt Stafford's going to get hit 10 to 15 times. I mean, who knows? And Matt Stafford is up there, and he's taken a lot of hits. I don't know how much more he can take. The D is abysmal. Let me say that again. If not for Aaron Donald, this D would be the worst in decades. And if they did not have Aaron Donald, this D line would be at a D. In my rankings, D is the lowest grade you can get. The linebackers are held together by duct tape, and the secondary is held together by cheap Gorilla Glue. I mean, that's where they're at right now. Even losing star kicker Matt Gay in the special teams. I mean, he was nailing kicks. That's its own thing. But still, I think you guys get the point. The defense is not good. I don't think I can name a linebacker on their team. I mean, they lost everyone. They lost Leonard Floyd, for example. They lost others. I can't remember right now. But to cut salary cap down. Anyway, that's their roster. Let's go to the schedule. All right, let's move on to the Rams' schedule at Seattle to open up the year. You lose this game. First home game versus San Francisco. I think you lose this game as well. At Cincinnati, you lose this game. These are all teams that are better than them by a wide margin. You go to Indianapolis. I think you pick up your first win here versus Philadelphia. You lose that game. Versus the Cardinals, I think you win here. Versus Pittsburgh, I think you'll lose. At Dallas, you lose here. At the Packers, you lose there to go into your bye week 2 and 7. Coming out of the bye week, you play Seattle at home. That's a loss. At Arizona, loss. Versus Cleveland, you lose this one. At the Ravens, you lose this one as well. Versus Washington, I think you win here. Versus New Orleans, a loss. At the Giants, I think you win here. At the 49ers to finish out Week 18, you lose to go 4 and 13. All right, moving on to the Seattle Seahawks roster. I have their overall roster at a B. Coaching is consistently great, as always, with Pete Carroll, kind of like a Mike Tomlin situation or Andy Reid situation. Whatever you give him, he is going to make it good, and he will make it satisfactory to where he's winning. The two running backs that they have are two great ascending stars with Kenneth Walker and second-round pick Zach Charbonnet, and I think they will be a great 1-2 punch for years to come. The wide receiver room is elite with DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and first-round addition Jackson Smith and Jigba, and Noah Fant's a great receiving tight end as well. So as a room, I mean, none of these are like elite guys like Justin Jefferson and Cooper Kupp, but they put together, they are definitely an elite group. There is no weak link here. They're all really good. Both O-line and D-lines are concerned with this team. They are really weak. But the linebacker room with Bobby Wagner and Uchenna Nwosu are both solid pieces, and good rotational pieces they have in Devin Bush and Boye Mafe are great too. So their linebackers will be really good too. The secondary is also really good with Tyreek Woolen, Devin Witherspoon. That's a first-round addition, top 5 pick, and guys like Quandre Diggs and Jamal Adams. I mean, these guys are really good, and they draft really well as a team. They are coached really well, and I mean, this team could definitely win double digits, I think. They have a decently hard schedule, but their roster is really well-rounded if they can get a piece or two on the O-line and D-line. All right. Having said that, let's move on to the schedule. You open up versus the Rams in week 1. You win this game at Detroit. I think you're going to go in there and stun Detroit and win, because I think Detroit is going to be very good. If you haven't watched NFC North video, go watch that. Versus Carolina, I think you win this one as well. I think this will be double-digit win. At the Giants, I think you lose this one as well, going into the bye week 3-1, feeling good about yourself. At Cincinnati, you're going to win this one as well. This is a very back-and-forth game, but I think the passing attack from the Seahawks will prevail, and a stiff D will help as well. Really good corner. This is going to be a fun matchup, let me tell you, in week 6. Week 7 versus Carolina, you have a win here. Versus Cleveland, you win there. At Baltimore, you lose here. And you're going to go on a little bit of two-game skid here, losing to Washington as well. At the Rams, you win as well. Versus the 49ers, you win. And then you're going to go on a little bit of a skid here, losing at Dallas, at the 49ers, and versus Philadelphia. You lose those 3 games. At the Titans, I think you win this game. You play host to the Steelers. I think you lose this game. It's going to be very close, down to the wire, but I think the Steelers will win this game. Then you'll finish up the season at Arizona to win to go 10-7. All right, moving on to our last team here in the NFC West. We have the San Francisco 49ers have their overall roster at an A-. The quarterback room is pretty confusing because Sam Darnold has revived his career a little bit, and he has ascended the depth chart, and he's looked awesome. He's thrown dimes in preseason. I know it's just preseason, but still. And Trey Lance, top 5 pick, hasn't really played that well. So he's went down in the depth chart, and Brock Purdy has yet to play a lot. I mean, he's played some. He hasn't really taken that many reps yet, so I think that's going to be concerning for the start of the season for the 49ers. Christian McCaffrey is a top 5 running back with an above-average offensive line handled by the best offensive tackle in the game, Trent Williams. And with the receivers that are sometimes overlooked, guys like Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk. Kittle is a top 3 tight end, George Kittle. So the receivers are really solid, sometimes overlooked because the whole roster is really good. The defensive line and the linebackers are the greatest strengths of this team. They're top 2 in the league where they are, the D-line and the linebackers. So they get an A+ because that's the highest that we go. They're excellent. The D-line headed by Nick Bosa and the linebackers handled by Fred Warner, who are both the best at their craft. I have Nick Bosa as the number 1 defensive lineman in all of the sport, and I have Fred Warner as the number 1 overall linebacker in the sport as well, and I don't think too many people would disagree with that as well. And the secondary, a little bit of a weak link, but I mean, it's very fixable when you have elite players everywhere else. All right, let's move on to the 49ers schedule. You open up week 1 at Pittsburgh. It'll be a tough game because Brock Purdy, again, hasn't taken that many reps. But you still win this game due to the elite defense. At the Rams, I think you win this game. Versus the Giants, you win this game as well. Versus Arizona, you win this game. You play host to Dallas. I think you rest on your laurels a little bit with your 4-game win streak, and you lose this game to Dallas, who comes in prepared. At Cleveland, I think you win as well. At Minnesota, you win. And then versus Cincinnati, this will be a very good game to watch, but you lose this game. Going into the bye week in week 9, 6-2. Coming out of the bye week, you play at Jacksonville. This will be an underrated game. I don't think it'll be nationally recognized as much as it should. I think Jacksonville will be pretty decent. But you lose this game to Jacksonville. Versus Tampa Bay, you win as well. At Seattle, you lose here. At Philadelphia, you lose here. Versus the Seahawks, again, you get your redemption and you win here. At Arizona, you complete the 2-game sweep by winning here as well. Versus the Baltimore, you win as well. At Washington, I think Washington's going to play a little bit of a spoiler. If you watched the video before, I think they'll lose a lot of games that are winnable and win a lot of games that are losable. In my opinion, they're just going to be one of those spoiler teams. And then versus the Rams to finish out, you win, going 11-6. So there you have it, the NFC West. We have the Cardinals, 3-14. Their roster grade is a C. Rams coming in 4-13 with a roster grade of a C as well. The Seahawks, 10-7, roster grade of a B. And then the 49ers taking home another division crown, 11-6, roster grade A-. Thank you all so much for watching all the way through. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel here on YouTube and on Spotify. Follow us and give us a 5-star rating. It's awesome when I see that y'all have been doing that. And stay tuned for the AFC predictions, which are coming very soon because the season is coming very soon, and I hope y'all are stoked about the season as I am. I love watching football, and I love telling y'all about football as well. So for NFL Quick Talk, we'll see you on the flip side.